Привет всем, welcome to this new video, Introduction to Scratch Detailing. Not comprehensive, but might help you out. What we're looking at here is a Leopard I Powerpack. It's included within the Leopard I kits provided by hobbyboss. We're going to look at a few methods on detailing. There's a couple of ways to approach this. Here's a quick summary. We could go fully detailed. We can imagine it, shed paint, just make up the detail, or we can go something in between. We're going for that third option. So in order to do that, we pick out some references, we find the real thing, the real Powerpack, and compare the detail on it compared to the actual kit. In fact, this little miniature model is really quite well detailed, but there's a few notable areas that could do with some supplementation of detail, and that's what we're trying to do here by scratch detailing. But this is pretty simple. It's a simple process and you can go into it as much as you wish. In this instance, I found quite a few of the tubes and ancillaries, and particularly the umbilicals connect the engine into the engine bay, were missing. So that's what we'll concentrate on. Materials are what you have. I tend to use lead wire for a lot of the wiring, obviously, but you can use copper wire, whatever you have. And also plastic strip available from most hobby shops. Order it online, and this came in really handy. I picked these up in Taiwan of all places. I believe they're for detailing Gundams. And here's some legacy Verlinden bolts and nuts. Let's get started. The first tip I have for you is if you are going to add wiring, be it to an aircraft landing gear bay or whatever, it always helps to drill out a hole in order to avoid butt joining wire to just pieces of plastic. It just is so much easier. So that's the first thing I did. Now for the tubes, I used this plastic rod here. Now you can bend it into shape. It's a good idea to actually use heat if you can, or even better to use flexible material. There is a disadvantage to using this plastic tube in that you're going to see in a second, but the big advantage is that you can glue it straight to plastic. Now here's a bit of the gizmology. I believe this might be a resin IED type aerial, but it tended to sort of represent a small fuel pump type item that's missing on the bottom area. So what I did is I bent some PE brackets, super glued them in place, and then super glued this cylindrical item into position. Now I've added some of the details at this stage, and at this point I'm adding some simple vinyl tubing. Obviously that's a lot easier to bend round. Super glue it into position, and now we're going to start adding a bit more wiring using the lead wire, and that's pretty straightforward, easily put into place. And here's a quick tip for you. The lead wire can be sintered down. You can smooth it down, and with that you can make little straps, which is quite handy. They're pretty easy to place into position, and you're going to see also how that comes into play when we have a little small problem. With the wires, make sure that they have got an end point to them, so be it those drilled holes that you've made, or you can tuck them into position. Now here I thought maybe add a little bit of supplementary wire by drilling into this resin part and connecting the wiring to various holes, etc. It's all simple stuff, pretty easy. I did say you could probably go and use all sorts of different ways of doing this. Now there you can see the plastic rod had actually broken, but I covered that up later on. And here we're adding on these springs. These springs look really good, obviously, really add the detail, and they represent pretty closely what I saw in the references. Now we're sort of coming to the end here, just a bit of plastic rod being added on. Now these nuts and bolts, I use them to represent the end connectors on these umbilicals. Not the greatest match by any means, but better than nothing. Of course, if you got 3D printing, you could probably make very accurate details, and that would be great. Maybe a future project. Sort of coming to the end now. Here's some of that thicker lead wire, just easing it into position. Again, this is probably just the area that needed just a little few touches. And notable point here is the exhausts themselves. They were insufficiently hollowed out, so we get a motor tool and use various bores, a drill bit to bore out that exhaust. Pretty fundamental thing to do. Last point here is what I noticed on the references. At these turbochargers, this is where the air filter would be placed. They use duct tape to cover those entrances, obviously to prevent debris, etc., going inside the engine and causing damage. So there we are, that's the detailing done. I need to say this took basically maybe 2.5 hours to do. You could spend many hours fully researching 3D detailing, printing, etc., but this is the quick approach, and hopefully you will find it of some use. So we've got a priming. Because we've got multiple different media, we've got the plastic, we've got the photo etch parts, we've got those metallic springs, lead wires, it's a good idea to apply a primer. So use my favorite, the Mr. Surfacer Primer Black, giving it some depth, and now we can go and use whatever paint you have that matches what you're painting. In this case, we're using Tamiya NATO Green, which seemed to be quite a good match for those engine blocks that I saw in the references. And this process is pretty simple, but you see everything start more or less coming to life now. Paint scheme is rather simple for these engines, not very complex. And the other area that required a little bit of paint, I used some NATO Black, which is a black grey, just to colour in these air filter screens, or the radiators, I believe, that seem to be a different colour, a metallic black grey. And now a little bit of hand painting. I find that these Vallejo metallics are really easy to brush on. They don't leave much texture, and also, most importantly, they are resistant to weathering products. Just adding on a representation of that metallic duct tape there, and now we're just doing a few more detail painting. Need to sort of say, obviously this is a bit of Imagineering. Some of these umbilicals were not black, or they were a different colour, so go as far as you need to, as far as you feel comfortable in your detailing. 99% of people will not know what the real Leopard engine looks like, so using this method basically of a mixture of references and using some creativity, I think it's a fair process. Now I've got weathering really simple, a dark black brown wash, and this is applied all over. The entire model is brushed with this mixture. It's a little bit dilute in consistency. What it really helps with is adding depth to the recessed portions of the model, and also it sort of tones down those metallic portions as well. You just see there the wash just being blotted on there. There we are. Overall look as a clean engine, but let's pop some detail. Found this green grey paint, quite a nice tone for this process. Really simple. Use a flat brush or a soft round brush and take the excess off using a paper towel or just even a piece of paper, and dry brush on to pop the detail. Now I recommend you don't go too harsh. This isn't the old style, glaringly bright dry brushing. This is just trying to keep it a little bit subtle, just popping out that detail. This method, I think, still is relevant today. I like to use it a lot. Now, found a silver pencil, really came in handy. These are the V-clips that keep the tubing held on to tube joiners. So they have a metallic clip, so detailed them with the silver pencil, added in some scratches just using the silver pencil once again, and then just to give the metallic effect of these radiators, this is a soft graphite stick, and again just popping the detail out, probably quite similar to dry brushing. Final part now is attaching it onto the Bergepanzer. Check my video of that if you haven't seen it. It fits on the cradle. It fitted on okay, and this is what I wanted to do in the original video, and this was the entire purpose of nearly buying that Leopard kit. So there we are in place. I think it looks really good in position. Scratch detailing, do you do it? Do you have any tips, recommendations? Do you want to see more videos like this? Let me know in the comments. Hope this video was useful, and until next time, see you soon.